Okay, fine. I'm just going to tell my story of how I made a milli before 30. So I want to be very clear so you actually believe what happened. First of all, I've had a few drinks. Met this Japanese girl outside my apartment and we went and had some drinks. I don't know what's going on with my life, honestly. It's once you hear what I've done to make a milli before 30, you will understand this entire channel is just crazy. I guess I need a little bit of warming up to get the story going. You need to get the storyteller going. You can't just tell a wonderful story like this with no excitement. You gotta give me something. I'm just gonna give you this incredible story with nothing in return. That's not how life works. If you're ready for it, are you ready for it? It all started when I was very young. Um, I think, where should the story start? The story will start at run class. This is really weird. It was gym class, and I had this friend, Joey Alvarez, and he's still my friend. He's actually quite dope. I haven't seen him in a while, but we message sometimes. And I remember he was like the fastest kid in class. Just a tiny little Mexican dude. And we were all like 12. And Joey's just running up a storm. He just had all his energy. And then I was always like 8th or 10th. Like I wasn't anything impressive. Like I was just in that middle tier of just average. Then one day I don't know. I honestly, to God, I don't remember what clicked. I think it's because I came from an athletic family where my brother was like literally like God tier. No, seriously. Cousin was incredibly athletic, just terrifying human being. Everybody was just athletic. And I was just this nerdy little kid that just did my own thing. And I was always afraid of everybody. Yeah, seriously. And that's kind of how I grew up. I was just kind of in my own head. I had my friends and stuff. Like I wasn't a loser. I was just different. I was just in my head thinking. Um, Not to say that I'm some genius, but I was definitely smart. Like I was probably like top tier. I just knew stuff. I don't know. Anyways, so I'm like in the middle of the athletic in that class, right? And Joey's just running circles and he would say toot toot and he'd fart and then he'd just go like number one and just fucking run. Anyways, so then one day I think to myself, you know what? What if I trained? This is when everything changed. I said, what if I trained? And I went home and I started training. And every single day I'd go for a run. And I remember it was like not that insanely long, like in a month or like a few weeks. All of a sudden, I'm number 2 in the class. Always. There's Joey and there's me. And then I joined like basketball, all this stuff. But that doesn't really matter. The point is I learned. I was like, wait, if I just put in some effort, I could be that's it. Just run a little bit. All of a sudden I was number 2. And then I went to this pizza shop and my auntie got me a job. And I went to this pizza shop and I remember I worked a couple hours and the guy gave me money. I didn't have a bank account because I was 12. But I worked a couple hours and he just gave me like, I don't know, like $20 or something. Then I looked at the money and I was like, wait, I just worked and then I made money. As a child, that blew my mind. I put into this work thing and then I just received money. It didn't seem real. It's quite incredible. And one more thing happened where I remember my cousin was going to the gym and I asked him a question. I was like, wait a second. If I lift these they bought me dumbbells. And I was like, if I lift these dumbbells, I'm just going to be stronger. And they're like, yeah. Like you're looking at this kid. I think I still kind of think like that, where it's like, I kind of like to break things down to its like most ridiculous core, where it's like, if I eat this food, I'm going to stop being hungry. Like that type of level, like that level. So anyway, though, if I take these dumbbells, I'm just going to get stronger. That's it. They're like, yeah. I'm like, you mean if I just work out, I'm going to have nice muscles? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's it? I couldn't believe it. You might look at me and say, Cheyenne, like, you're skinny and kind of a pudge. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I've had periods in my life where I've been fit beyond belief. So yeah, like it was crazy. Anyways, how did I make a milli before 30? This is very important. So those were like the first foundational experiences in my life. Then I remember I was like maybe 13, and I was like, bro, I don't know how I got into stocks. I think one of my teachers was talking about stocks at school. It was grade 7. I was 12. A lot happened in grade 7. I had my third crush was grade 7. Yeah, like my third crush. It was Rochelle, Leia, and then it was this girl named Laurel, who ended up having a glow up, and all of a sudden she's hot and everybody's into her. But anyways, whatever, bro. Pretty sure she liked me too, but what was I gonna say? I was in grade 7, and my teacher said, if you want to be rich, become a CEO. Fast forward, I'm grade 9. Me and my social studies teacher, which is like geography. And he says, Mr. Little, he said, he just taught me about stocks. He was into stocks. And the teachers loved me. I don't know why. I think I was the only person who actually paid attention to the bullshit they were saying. Wait, what? Stalin did what? Oh my God. I thought it was a story. I didn't think it was class. I was so crazy. I literally thought this shit was like story time. I was like, this is great. I'm learning about Stalin and this guy named Hitler, and they did what to each other? And I was very competitive. I think it was like the family genes. I was just like, rather than being competitive in sports, I ended up running, but I was like very competitive with intelligence. So I was trying to beat these kids in school. So anyways, me and Mr. Little became friends. Me and the math teacher became friends. Calculus teacher became friends. They all loved me, except for this one teacher, English class. And she had heard some stories and she just hated me for some reason. She had her favorite. All these teachers had a favorite. And if you weren't their favorite, you were actually opposing the favorite. It's because they knew it was competitive. They were smart. But anyways, I always won. Anyways, got into Waterloo, did some great shit. That's besides the point. Got into stocks. Took my auntie to the bank. I was like, Auntie, you have to open up a stock account. She's like, what is a stock account? It's like, go to the bank and we're going to open up a stock account. This sounds crazy. I was 12. I'm not going to get too into it, but anyways, my auntie was very loving and caring. So we go to the stock account. We opened up a stock account. I start trading stocks. This was in 2008. The market crashes. The market absolutely tanks. And I'm looking up some stuff. I'm seeing Ford go from 18 to 1. I'm seeing all these other stocks, right? And I didn't know what I was doing. So I just buy some stupid stuff and then I sell right away. I make a bit of money. I'm like excited. A few years later, I see that Ford that was 18 went to 1. All of a sudden goes to 12 again. Goes back to 18. It's like, I could have made 18 times the money. This was 2008. So then in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to wait until the next downturn. This was 2008. And I was a 12-year-old. And I said, I'm going to wait until the next downturn. I'm going to save money. So I start working. 2008, I'm 12 years old. I start saving. Save. I have 20 grand. Go to university. Some other stuff happens. Family stuff, life. Like partying, get into that, traveling. I could be like 100 million right now. No problem. Like at least 10. Easy. But I just got into traveling. I got into making friends, did all these exchanges, all this stuff. Learned about Bitcoin in 2011, right when it came out. But anyways, we didn't do anything with that. One of my friends did. He got 2 Bitcoin. Now he's loaded. But anyways, I was waiting. All this time, I was waiting. Because I was like, if Ford went from 12 to 1, then back to 18, I'm going to make a lot of money. So I was just waiting. Get a job at Apple, save everything. 2020 rolls around. Now we're in COVID. I'm at lunch. One of my friends, who's from MIT, looks at me and says, guys, this COVID thing could be real. And we're like, nah. He's like, the CDC just released some notes. Like, I've been reading it. Anyways, we get sent home. But before we get sent home, I stay a little bit longer at Apple Park. And I'm working. In between work, I'd go to the bathroom and I'd sit there and I'd look up stocks. And I was seeing Lululemon went from, I think, 300 to 200, and I was buying. Every single time it would drop, I would buy. And I had 160K in savings. So every time it drops, I buy. And then all of a sudden it goes half. For some reason, that was the thing that triggered in my mind where I was like, the moment it hit half, that's the day. I remember the day it hit half. It went to 160. And I said, I'm going to buy everything. By the way, this is my entire life savings. I'd worked at Apple for 5 years. I've been saving for years. I dumped $160,000 into Lululemon. All my savings. This was like 200K USD. That very day, luckily, I got a notification from Robinhood saying, you just got accepted for margin trading, this like gold account. They gave me another 160. It was like ridiculous, the amount of money they gave me. When I told the story to my friends, they were like, Shan, you literally mortgaged a house to buy stocks. So I just kept buying. The moment it hit half, I bought everything. Anyways, the story goes, and everything ended up doubling. I was driving back to Canada for COVID because I was going to work remote. And I saw these FedEx trucks. So I started buying FedEx. I made another 50K. I was making 50, 100 just day by day. I'd wake up and I'd make 50K. Somehow, after all this work, and then the crazy GameStop stock, my friend was following it on Reddit for months. And he sent it to me. I bought options, made another 10. I was just making money doing everything. Anything I did, I made money. I was in Portugal traveling with him. We were partying in Lagos, my favorite town. And I ended up having $900,000, something like 920. And that's how I made nearly a milli before 30. Dun, 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 dun. That's how I did it. Learn the lessons as you will. Children, goodbye.